So you've already seen the videos of people testing blenders and coffee machines being powered by an electric car. And that feature that they're using is called vehicle to load, where you can access the power of the big battery pack under an electric car and redirect it out the charging port to power those devices. Now, electric cars, they're big, they're heavy, they're silent. So it can be hard to judge your sense of speed going into a corner at a racetrack. I'm training for my first ever track day in an electric car using this, the MG4 XPower. But before I do that, I have to get some practice in. That's why I've dropped past PlayStation, who've kindly lent me this. And so PlayStation have given us this, a Gran Turismo simulator to plug right into this car. To connect this simulator to this electric car, we need a special cable. It's called a V to L cable, which a bunch of different electric car manufacturers will either give to you or you can purchase separately, like this one. This one will cost $249 here in Australia, around 250 bucks, of course. Now, some brands will give you a integrated plug into one piece here, but MG have gone for this longer extension cable looking one. All you have to do is just unplug this, open the charge door, plug it in just like that, like you would be charging it, and it lights up blue to let you know it's recognized this cable, and you can draw up to 3.3 kilowatts from this car, which is a fair amount of power. So plugging this simulator in is as simple as that. Now we can get started on our practice. We have 97% battery right now, so we're close to a full charge. Now, I've been told using this simulator over a couple of hours, we should see a target consumption of around 15%. Now, what's cool is that in this car, like you can with some other cars, is that you can limit how much charge you want to leave this vehicle. So it's called discharge settings. You can go through here and you can actually say, I only want it to use up to 40% of charge or 50% of charge, and tells you how much estimated range will be remaining when you do that. We've got a TV screen here. We have Thrustmaster's TGT2 set up with this wheel and pedals, and we have a seat. If you wanted to trailer this with you, you could. And of course, powering all this is a PS5 that's running Gran Turismo 7, but you could just bring your PlayStation, your steering wheel, and a screen and set up pretty much anywhere, and you could almost go and set up in the paddock of a racetrack and have a setup similar to this and get some practice in as we're about to do right now. If you know anything about Gran Turismo, you'll know that MG is actually not in the game. So we're going to use a very similar car, and it's actually a direct competitor to something like the MG4 XPower, which is the Tesla Model 3 Performance. And we're using a track that's called Big Willow. It's part of Willow Springs. And oh, one more thing. Okay, that's better. We're in a simulator, so gotta dress for the occasion. All right, let's see if I can get my lap times down. Now, this is a simulator, so I should probably lock in just a little bit to see if I can improve my lap times, because using this VR headset's gonna be the closest I can get to actually driving a car on track before actually even doing that in real life. How much power we actually use. We used 1%, that's it. That's far less than our estimated 15% consumption. So it goes to show that yes, you can power a simulator off an electric car like this and really have no negative impacts on your battery if you're about to go out for a track day, which we're gonna do right now. Now, once you're done using your battery from your electric car to power your simulator to get some practice in before you head out to the track, it's time to put these away and get something out that's a bit more track appropriate to see if practice really makes perfect. We can sort of punch, oh my gosh, 3.8 seconds to 100, the traction control kicks in quite aggressively. Now we're going to be starting our 3 laps to see if driving on a simulator really did improve my driving ability in an EV. And there's so much power and torque here that I really don't need to do too much to get this thing moving. Now I can go nice and wide and sort of set up for this corner. Look where that cone is, just like we'd have those markers indicated on Gran Turismo. We can look through there. My gosh. Now, this is the annoying thing with EVs. They are heavy. So that means we are going to feel a lot of weight here through corners, and the suspension setup in this particular EV hasn't been tuned. So I haven't gone to the tuning shop to get my suspension stiffened out. Now this car really wants you to be nice and straight to apply all that power down. Now we're going for our second lap. This is so fun. As we go to the corner here, we're just sort of going to try and make most of that grip, but I could do with grippier tires for sure. Now, as I go through here, there is just a lot of movement, a lot of G-forces, and these seats aren't really holding me in. That's something that you're not going to experience in the simulator, G-forces. You're going to be sitting pretty still in your seat. Even if you're wearing VR, you'll feel like you're moving, but not like this. These seats definitely don't really have the support I'd be looking for on a track day like this. If I bought this car to do some track days, I probably would upgrade the seats and the suspension. But for around town driving, it's very comfortable. Back road driving, it's all right. But track day, probably want a slightly stiffer setup. Now these brakes are working pretty well. And as we go through here, we're gonna plant all our power down. It shoves into the torque and it's shoving all that traction down. And we're gonna go for, whoa, big brake there. Go through. Go through. This is so awesome. It's a car that can power your simulator and it can also be driven as a real life track car. This is our cool down lap, and see, the best thing about playing Gran Turismo and playing a simulator is that you don't have to do a cool down lap. Biggest strain that electric cars have out on track are the brakes and tires because of all that weight that they've got to stop and move pretty dynamically. But I will admit, this is a sincere thought, that I was easily able to feel more confident on track on my first EV track day because I got some practice in on a simulator. So yes, you can bring your simulator along with you to a track, get some practice in, and it does actually help improve your lap times and improve your experience driving an electric car on a track if you haven't done that before.